So for myself, I started coaching at the age of 18 when the Mumbai Squash Association president said, why don't you just help out juniors over the weekend?
Hello and welcome to Career Central, the podcast where we demystify careers. My name is Sachin Ramurthy, and today we are going to be talking with the head coach of the Indian national squash team, Mr. Cyrus Poncha. Sports coaching is one profession whose work is done behind the scenes. You only see their success in the form of players or athletes under them performing well. The ultimate goal is to be a coach in events such as the Olympics, the Asian Games, the Commonwealth Games, and more. Sport coaches are often retired players. It's necessary to be an expert and at the pinnacle of a sport in order to aid professional players. This is a career that requires a lot of dedication, patience, and passion. Sports coaches' expertise are reflected in the performance of their players. In order to become a professional coach, you obviously need to be very passionate and adept at the sport yourself. It also helps if you have a degree in sports management or coaching. Today, we are talking with Mr. Cyrus Poncha, the head coach of the Indian national squash team. Mr. Poncha currently coaches at the ICL-TNSRA Academy in Chennai. He was awarded the Dronacharya Award from the Government of India in 2005. He was also adjudged Asian Squash Federation Junior Coach of the Year in 2004, 2009, 2012, 2014 and 2016. Mr. Poncha coaches some of the best squash players representing India, including Saurav, Ghosal and Dipika Pallikal. So let's get into the interview. So first of all, why is it that relatively few teenagers choose squash as a sport?
Squash, in fact, over the last decade has certainly come into the limelight. However, you are bang on right that not too many people are playing squash professionally when we talk on a large scale. Today, we have about 25 men and around 15 women who are professional squash players. Of these 40 odd, only about 10 are playing squash full time as their career. Some are become members, but they are not doing it. So to answer your question, there has been a massive change that we now even have about 10. 5 years ago, it was 3 or 4 players. So a lot more have got into it. Primarily, we are not yet 50 or 100 players who are playing squash full time. Would be that it's primarily to do with making a career out of squash.
So have you seen changes in sports infrastructure in the last few years? And where do you think we're headed over the next 5 years?
In terms of squash, I certainly see a lot more infrastructure, a lot more public awareness is there, a lot more facilities. One massive boon to squash is a lot of the new housing complexes have a squash court. They build squash courts, they build these community houses, membership houses. So we have a lot more squash courts over there, which is very good. Throughout the country, of course, we certainly need a lot more squash courts to increase the brand of our game, increase our sport awareness.
So I understand through a bit of research that countries like Egypt have leapfrogged in squash. So what was their model, and is it possible to replicate it?
So Egypt squash has the biggest thing they've worked on is the numbers. They have a massive number of players who play at the junior level. Although infrastructure-wise, it's only 2 major cities, which is Alexandria and Cairo, have squash courts. So basically, it's just that they bring in children at an early age. Then there's a good club culture, which brings them in to play squash. And now their squash players are doing well, so there is also monetary benefits for squash players.
does technology play a role in this profession?
To be a squash player, I don't think there's massive technology in that sense. To be a good squash player, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, discipline, like any other sport or profession, I would think. But squash is a very physically demanding sport. So you need to be physically very fit and strong in order to excel at the international level.
So how do you think people can really come up in this industry? So as you said, is it just hard work that matters completely, or are there other factors that weigh in as well?
Of course, like other things as well, hard work is the key. There are no shortcuts. There is no magic pill to become a world champion overnight. It's a lot of hard work, dedication, commitment, which is required. Talent, of course, can get you to one level, but primarily it's a lot of effort.
What was your motivation into becoming a coach?
So for myself, I started coaching at the age of 18, and it just somehow happened to be that at that time I was in Mumbai when the Mumbai Squash Association president said, why don't you just help out juniors over the weekend? And that's something I started doing, and I really enjoyed it on the weekends. Then they asked me why, a few parents said, why don't you help my son and daughter during the week? So it just started that way slowly, and it's something I felt that, it was my passion. Squash was something special to me, and I said, let me continue this as a profession. So I enjoy myself training. I don't wake up in the morning thinking of going to work. It's more a hobby, and I absolutely love playing for a living.
Wow. Okay. So apart from, as you said, building new courts and improving the infrastructure, what else could we do to improve awareness about squash in India?
So like everything, money is a key factor. If there's more money into the game, if there are more sponsors in the game, we will certainly see more players taking it up. It's an icon. We need also an icon. We do have a few players who have done well in the international arena. They've touched top 10 in the world.
Yeah.
But not everybody knows about it. So if you get on TV, that's a massive boon, If you are there. But to get on TV is expensive. So that's the main reason squash is not regularly on TV. But if our players are regularly on TV, the awareness will be there. More players will start playing the sport, and that's the cycle which will help us.
So, final question now, and this is going to be a sort of a big picture question. What is your message or advice to students who may be considering a career in your industry?
So, squash coaching, there are a lot of players who have been playing and who have got into coaching, and the squash coaching industry in India is growing by leaps and bounds. So that's in fact something which is really growing. We are always looking for good squash coaches, players who have played at the national level, moving on to coaching. That's something massive, and that's really, really growing across the country. So there's a massive benefit in coaching. In terms of players, you've got to be a good squash player at the junior level, or reasonably good at the junior level, with showing tremendous promise to play squash at the international level. So, for those who have it, they really know who they are, and they generally would know what they need to do to continue. So it's just not anyone can wake up in the morning and say, oh, I want to be a squash professional. It won't work that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for this interview, Mr. Poncha. Really enjoyed it. I think I learned a lot as well.
Okay. Thanks so much.
That's it for today, everybody. Be sure to follow us on iTunes and Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit www.indianstudentroom.com for more. See you next time when we interview the head of the Women's Entrepreneur Hub of Telangana, Ms. Deepti Ravula.